There we go. And I'm going to show you a quick video about the Atlantic Institute. Oh, hold on. Share my screen. All right, and I believe I am sharing now. And let's see here.
The Atlantic Institute is a nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting harmonious coexistence between peoples of various cultures, faiths, and backgrounds. We seek this goal through peaceful dialogue, education initiatives, and community organization. Our dialogue events bring together experts, community and faith leaders, and knowledge seekers to address social issues that affect us all. We feel dialogue is the most important element in peaceful coexistence, so we try and maintain several panel discussions, TED Talk events, and book clubs throughout the year. These events touch on social issues, race relations, and cultural understanding, and are a mainstay of our programming. The Atlantic Institute's education events are extremely important to our mission of understanding. We want to promote socially forward critical thinking to students of all ages. To that end, we have developed programs that seek to grow the creative spirit of students and help them think about their communities and the world around them. Our Future Leaders of Dialogue event brings together nominated elite students to learn from each other as well as political and business leaders. Our art and essay contest gives students a theme about important societal issues and allows them to create wonderful works of art and writing while steering their minds towards improving their world. We're always seeking ways to educate youths and adults in order to make a peaceful world for all of us. Our community events are designed to transform neighbors into friends and groups of people into a community. By associating with other nonprofits or by our own initiative, we are always trying to discover new avenues to improve our neighborhoods, places of worship, and community centers. We host cooking demonstrations of food from other cultures, work with various nonprofits to help elevate the work of others, and try to find a way to make the lives of those who are disenfranchised or marginalized better. Building a more peaceful world starts in our backyards, so we are dedicated to improving our communities and associations. The Atlantic Institute is always seeking like-minded volunteers and collaborators. If you would like to learn more, find volunteer opportunities, or just want to chat with our staff, please visit our website at www.atlanticinstitutesc.org or follow us on Facebook. We will never run out of fun, educational, peaceful events. So come, join us to help make this world a better place full of understanding and unity.
All right, got that out of the way.
Your child needs these 3 factors to get into an Ivy League or top university, and it's not having a good GPA or SAT score. Let me explain. 90% of students with 40+ GPA
Yeah. Oh no. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure what happened. I'm gonna figure that out. But while I do that, I would like to introduce our speaker for tonight, who's gonna tell us all about Holi. It's thank you so much for being here, Raghav. Thank you so much. Raghav Amit was originally born and raised in India. Since then, he has lived in 5 countries and over a dozen cities. He has also traveled to over 60 countries to nurture his love of learning about various cultures, history, languages, and food from around the world. He is an engineer with 2 master's degrees in management and cognitive science. He has spent time in technology startups and Fortune 100 companies and venture capital industry. He is currently on a sabbatical, continuing to travel the world, among other things. And I'm going to hand it over to him right now. And if you have any questions, if you will just put them in the chat. And then after he's done speaking, I will go over those questions. So Raghav, I'm going to hand it over to you now.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you everyone for being here. I'm so glad. Actually, it's on the day of Holi, so happy Holi to everyone. And uh, obviously, I'm not like a expert on any of these, but just lived experience. So I'm just gonna share what I know. So it may not constitute everything about Holi, but probably almost all of it. Um, and like Jennifer said, it's going to be quite an informal discussion. So I'll share what I was thinking or what I know about it, and in between, if you have any questions, uh, just let me know and I'll try to answer. So Holi is named after. Uh, by the way, this is all about mythology. So pretty much every festival in India or probably anywhere in the world goes back to some sort of mythology. The Holi is named after a demon named Holika. So we'll get back to that. But more importantly, as far as I've learned from all the festivals that I know from around the world, uh, they all go back to seasons and harvesting. You know, as in we became a modern civilization with agriculture, and for thousands of years that was a mainstay of our civilization. So all of this eventually ties back to seasons and harvest. And if you recall, this is a beginning of spring. Uh, so India or Hindu calendar mostly follows lunar calendar. So even here and northern hemisphere, that is, and all of India and ancient Indian empire was entirely in northern hemisphere. So it kind of corresponds to the seasons in the northern hemisphere. And we just started spring. Like we, even on Gregorian calendar, we do it on March 21st, right? So we're off by 3 4 days, but essentially um, because we follow uh, the moon, today is a full moon day. So that's the beginning of spring based on the Hindu calendar or the lunar calendar. So Holi essentially marks the beginning of spring. And back in the days before uh, Thomas Edison and everyone else came in the picture, it was all winters were used to be very, very dark. And they also symbolized as the dark days, even spiritually and whatnot. So this kind of constitutes as the new beginning, new year, like, forget the darkness, let's move into bright colors and sunlight and all those kind of things. So that's primarily the significance of it. And then on top of it, there's all this mythology and whatnot. And my belief, and I've studied Sanskrit for several years, and big chunks of the Vedas. Never been able to finish it. It'll probably take me an entire lifetime and maybe three more. But the back in the days, and we are talking about 3 4 thousand years ago when these were written and mostly passed on orally between generations. Um, Stories were the best way to retain knowledge and pass on knowledge. Just like even when you speak another language, it's very easy to remember the lyrics of a song because of the melody rather than, sentences. So it's very similar with stories. And when you have characters and all these, um, sensational thriller, good, evil. Even now, the superhero movies are a lot more popular than like some French noir or dramas, right? So it's the same concept. It was very easy to pass on knowledge between generations through oral stories, histories. Uh, so that's my belief behind all these mythologies. They're obviously not true. Some people might disagree, but they were essentially the backbone of knowledge back then. And the mythologies were just the same. So the mythological background of these this festival is um, actually, let me tell you. So if you know what goes on Holi, it's obviously we know about the colors. We splash colors the whole day and play whether it's uh, wet colors, dry colors, and all those. That's probably the most popular thing, But uh, in India and Nepal, where mostly this is celebrated, there's another big event, more a public event, where they burn the effigy of Holika, the demon goddess. Um, so they make a huge statue made of wood or anything that's flammable, and they burn the whole thing. And uh, the backstory to that um, is this mythological story where there was a demon god he was the brother of Holika, and he, to make a really long mythological story short, he gained some superpowers from the god that he cannot be killed ever. Basically, he tried to become immortal and said, but very much like a genie grants wishes, he had to be a little more specific. So he said, "No human or animal can kill me. I cannot be killed during daylight or nighttime, on land or water, um, things like that." So he became immortal, but he was the demon, and his own son refused to worship him, or rather, idolize him. So he became very angry with his son, and his son was the devotee of Vishnu, who is the supreme god. I mean, the actual god who apparently granted the wish to the demon. So he was pretty pissed with his own son, and believe it or not, he wanted to kill his own son because he didn't idolize him. But the son was such a devout or a devotee of Vishnu that he had protection from the god. So the demon god had, just like in the superhero movies, to make it a little more difficult, right, for the plot to unfold. So he asked his sister, who had her own set of superpowers, uh, and so she said, "Okay, I will make him sit on my lap." Apparently, she fire couldn't affect her, so like one of her X-Men, I suppose. And she said, "Okay, I'll have him sit on my lap, and I'll sit on fire, and then the fire will burn him, but not me. So we're all good." But it turns out, because the supreme god Vishnu um, was in favor of the kid, she ended up anyway getting killed, and the boy was saved. Um, so hence the whole symbolism of victory of good over evil in spite of whatever circumstances and stuff like that. So that's kind of the mythological part. And a side note about the demon god who couldn't be apparently killed. So Vishnu, and I don't know if you know about the whole avatars, the 10 forms that the Vishnu took over a period of several millennia. One of them is a half human, half lion. So he takes that form because the demon had asked for a wish that no human or no animal could kill him. So the god took the form of half human and half animal, loophole, and killed him in twilight because it was neither day or night. And apparently, he couldn't be killed. He also had a wish that he couldn't be killed with any weapon. So because he had the paws of a lion, he could slit his whatever body, basically life out of him, on his lap, which was neither land or water. So anyway, that's nothing related to Holi per se, but the the burning of Holika, or the symbolic burning of Holika, or the evil, is what symbolizes. But there are many other stories that kind of um, entangles with this. So the tradition. I see there are a couple of chats, so let me just see what's up there. There's a question. Okay, there's no question. All right. Um, so then there's the so how did the whole thing about colors come in? So then this goes back to probably the most popular version of Vishnu is Lord Krishna. So Lord Krishna is famously he was dark skinned, or he's depicted as like blue skinned or probably dark skinned, and he was despite all his divine powers, he was also known for being quite a ladies' man. So he had, over his period of time, had apparently thousands of women. And one of the women he really, really fell in love with was a very, very fair. As I mean, he was, I know, maybe in his teenage or something, very young, and the woman he fell in love with, she was very fair skinned, and he ran to his mother like, I don't know if she will fall in love with me. I really like her and whatnot. So apparently the mom said, okay, why don't you all play in colors and you'll all be like I know there won't be any, nothing to distinguish between your skin color or something. Probably one of the inane explanations, but it is what it is. So apparently that's how, and Krishna being a very flirtatious, very playful kid person all his existence, started playing with colors with all the ladies, and that's how that thing. And apparently that happened around the time of beginning of spring, or around the time of Holi. So that's how the thing about colors came in. Um, and also, this is the only festival, and where so all Indian festivals are in general, again, pretty much any other festival, as you might know, it's all about wearing new clothes. It's a whole tradition thing, because it's a auspicious day and whatnot. But this is the only day where people wear old clothes. One, of course, it's practical because you're getting splashed with colors, and you don't want to get into washing and whatnot. And it's also the clothes that they throw into the burning effigy. But it is supposed to, again, going back to the whole winter and spring and the new beginnings, the darkness of winter. It's all about getting rid of the old, uh, whether it's mentality, whatever this bad, the bad year, or any ill feelings, negative feelings, emotions, and preparing for a new beginning. There's sunlight, there's colors, bring in that, let's start all over kind of thing. So that's, again, the symbolism behind that. Um, and there's one more very important part of this, and this is mostly in northern India. This probably no one outside India knows it. Uh, this is a day many people indulge in marijuana, so it's a big part of the festival. Uh, it's consumed in edibles, mostly as a drink. Even 3,000-4,000 years ago, they realized the medicinal properties of marijuana, and they somehow, um, you know, inculcated or got it into the whole festival spirit of it. Um, Again, it's done openly with the knowledge of parents, the cops, and everything. There's the one day I believe the cops, marijuana is illegal in India technically, but there's the one day they don't care. Um, but this is mostly a northern Indian tradition. Southern India, it's not so much a thing. But yeah, this is one day where people get high, And again, there's no real, I mean, there is actually a mythological story to it, but unless someone's really, really interested in, let's not get into it. So that's basically what I quickly wanted to cover. One, the most important thing is this is obviously related to harvest and seasoning. Sorry, seasons. Seasoning comes on the table or in the kitchen, but then there's this added layer of mythology because just to make it memorable. Again, we are talking about 3,000-4,000 years ago. The first known written um, record of Holi was in 800 before Common Era, and the actual tradition apparently began maybe 3,000, 4,000 years ago. So we're talking about origins of back then. Um, so that's it's primarily, and any of the, so we have had at least 3 or 4 festivals in the last 3 months, and they are all related to winter harvesting, all across the region. So it's primarily related to that, and the winter and the spring, um, time. And just again, uh, this is one thing which might differ in different parts of the world. India has 2 harvesting seasons, uh, 6 months apart, and on the same field, they grow 2 different crops based on the season. And win- winter, I mean, uh, the harvesting that goes on that leads to this is a whole different set of challenge. You know, much like trying to grow something in the middle of winter in the Dakotas, and then there's another cycle of harvesting, sowing and all these things start now. So it's a big deal when it comes to that, and it was primarily our own only our primary source of um, vegetation or food back then. So given the importance of all that, all these are tied to seasons and harvesting at the end of it. So I'll open up to questions if you have any. Someone
Yeah,
wants
I
to.
can see there's two questions there if you can see those.
Oh yeah. So about the food, yes. Well, uh, any festival in India, yeah, it has to be tied to food, and especially sweets or pastries and all this kind of thing. Uh, so a lot of festivals have their own very unique one that is specific to that festival, but I don't believe there's anything specific to Holi. But yeah, I mean, everything revolves around um, music, food, colors, of course, and if at all, I mean, I can't call it food, but yes, the bhang or marijuana laced drink or edibles, that's big part of the fest, and that's very, very, very unique to Holi. Um, but otherwise, I don't think there's anything specific. If at all, there might be some regional specificity, but not like an overall, as far as I can remember. All right, so there is a request for, yeah. So the beverage, that's the one, the bhang or the marijuana laced drink. That's the special beverage that I'm talking about. Um, okay, so the quick story about the bhang is, um, so I've dropped in a few names. So I want to, just in case you're not familiar. So Lord Vishnu is the original or the supreme god. Like he's the Hercules of our version of all the gods. So he took different forms over a period of millennia to uh, take care of the contemporary whatever villains. So one form is Vishnu, the other one's Krishna, then Rama, and the Narasimha, which was like literally means human lion, that that he took to, get rid of the demon, which I was talking about earlier. So, and there we have something called the trifecta. So the Vishnu is the creator, and then this Brahma, the sustainer, and Shiva, you might have heard, is the destroyer. So they are like the three gods. They're not the version like forms of Vishnu. They're just three forms of the god. Um, so Shiva apparently was lost one of his wives, and he was depressed, and he went into some deep meditation or something, um, and which kind of basically put him off his duties, so which didn't um, sit well with the rest of the world because he has to do his stuff. And uh, his next wife to be, she was obviously in love with him, so she took the help of our version of Cupid or Eros, um, Kamadeva, and Kama. If you ever heard of Kama Sutra, it's named after Kamadeva, who's the god of love. Took his help. So apparently, he shot an arrow with a tip laced with marijuana to disturb Shiva. And the effects of bhang or marijuana like really rejuvenated Shiva, and he became a big fan of using marijuana regularly and whatnot. But anyway, that whole incident happened on the day of Holi, so um, that's how the whole thing about bhang came in. But if I have to guess, they somehow retrofitted the story so that people could use marijuana on this day. Um, I mean, there's no way to know one way or the other, but if my sense of how a lot of these things came in, it's retrofitting the story just to, you know, do something like have fun on a festival kind of thing. So that's the shortest version of that story. Any other questions?
I had a question just about, the colorful powders that we all, at least I've always associated with Holi. What are they? What are they made of? Are they, what are those?
Uh, so there is a personal story about it. Like as a kid, I absolutely hated Holi, and I mean I would avoid it at any circumstance. I would hide the entire day somewhere in my house to avoid my siblings or my friends getting, because my first experience as maybe like a 4 or 5 year old, um, it, because we play with both wet colors, colored water, and dry powder. They were, and it was probably just one of those really an outlier, but there was this kind of moist powder which was sitting below my nose, and it was, I didn't like the smell, and then I just never ever wanted to get near any of the color. So for
Mhm.
almost 10 years after that, I didn't. So I don't know back then how it was, and this was in the 80s. But I think things have gotten much better. So these are now like um, non-toxic, or they're made with uh, they're basically dyed powder, um, and specific to some um, usage. Like some are specifically made to be mixed in water and made a colorful water. Some are specifically used to be made for using as a dry powder. So I do not know like the exact chemical components of it, but they made some regulations to make sure they're all non-toxic, and even if you happen to consume a little bit, it should be fine, environmental friendly and all. And the dyes, of course, on their own are cruelty free and stuff like that, or non. not too harsh chemicals and those kind of things. And some of them are even vegan. There are a lot of people who prefer vegan colors or vegan dyes. Um, and there was briefly, very briefly, there was a small trend of using um, like silver and gold dust, and that got nixed pretty quick. And I mean, thankful for that. Uh, Maybe in the 80s, for a couple of years, there was that trend, and um, people, the government, everything, they were totally against it, and thankfully nixed it. Um, yeah, but that's about as much as I know about the colors.
Got you. Yeah, there's a couple more questions about the colors.
Actually, yeah. So, do the colors wash out of the clothes? Yeah. So that, I think that was one of the things. Um, I, as far as I know, and I, like I told you earlier, people wear old clothes on purpose on this day. I don't. I Because no one has, as far as and I've never tried. I don't know any of my friends or family ever trying to wash the clothes out, because they purposely wear old clothes to toss them away. Um, and I mean, we haven't burnt them, but we also uh, never tried to, wash them and wear them again. So they are dyes, and uh, they kind of stick pretty hard. I mean, I'm sure if you really, really, really wanted to get rid of them, and there's some industrial ways to get to it, but I don't think people try to. So I don't know. Like technically, I don't know the answer to that, but um, I wouldn't wear anything that's you'd want to reuse again. At least wear them unless you want to use them as rags or whatnot. Uh, what else? Abira. I don't know what Abira is. Sorry. Like, so we have something in northern India, they call it gulal. So gulal is a made of red dye. I mean, it is the word gulal specifically refers to the red dye. And but it's not like the color of sindoor or ochre, but it is more of the pinkish hue, and that's the most popular one. Like everything else, green, blue, yellow, they're not as much, but the very specifically associated color is gulal, and that's more of a pinkish hue. That's I have absolutely no clue about what abira is. Sorry. Uh, yeah, inhaling those powders. Yeah, that was again one of the reasons why those regulations came in terms of how to make it very safe to be, because at the end of the day, the kids love it. So a lot of kids play, and you don't want a lot of accidental ingestion either through mouth, nose, or whatever might happen. So uh, one of the biggest reasons those regulations came to make it safe was uh, to make it, like in small amounts, if it happens to get into your nasal passage or mouth, it should be fine, or eyes. But yeah, you wouldn't want to. I mean, while marijuana is part of it, you wouldn't want to bring in, the cocaine lifestyle and ingest colors in your nose. Uh, that's for sure. Um, yeah, the pinkish red, that's definitely the color of Gulal. So, but the word itself, I don't know. I'm not aware, Abira. Anything else? Any other questions?
Yeah, please add in any of your questions. This has been super interesting. It's always been something I try to pick these talks on things that I want to learn more about. And this has always been one of them because I just thought it was very interesting and also looked very beautiful and wanted to learn more about, why, why does this happen? And so this has been very, very educational for me. And you said the last time you actually participated was back in the 80s. Is that correct?
No. No, as a teenager, I got back into it. Like I,
Got you.
it's one of those things. And then when you're a teenager, there's a lot of peer influence, right? So my friends would absolutely love to play Holi, so it just ended up part of being our regular annual thing. So no, as it maybe from I don't know, from the age of 6 to 12, 13, I avoided it like the plague. Um, oh yeah, that's a good point. The obviously, uh, and we are talking about 2, 3 thousand years ago, and all the colors were made from natural dyes. So probably from flowers mostly, barks of trees, and mostly plant origins. So yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, unfortunately, that's not what we were used to in the past 20, 30 years. So uh, I don't know about those things, but originally they were all of herbal origin for sure. And while at that, so Thailand used to be part of the Indian Empire, you know, even 3, 4 centuries ago, 3 centuries ago. So there's a lot of Hinduism in Thailand, and they will be, they probably just did celebrate their harvest festival called Songkran, uh, which in another level of coincidence is the Southern Indian harvest festival is called Sankranti. That happened like 2 months ago. And then the Thai people celebrate their harvest festival around this time. It's called Songkran, and they play with colors, much like Holi, but it has nothing to do with Holi, or at least not, you know, officially. It's their harvest festival, but they happen to play with Holi. Like if you were there, you'll think it's Holi. They play it exactly like that, or rather, they celebrate. Um, and but again, it ties to harvest and harvesting season and the whole cycle of it.
And you might have covered this at the beginning when I was messing with my computer, but is is a Holi always at the same time of year each year?
Uh, so yes and no, in the sense, um, because uh, we follow the lunar calendar,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't align with the Gregorian calendar that's in the West. So, but
Okay.
it's always so to my answer of yes and no. So the yes part is it's always on the same day, that is the full moon day of this particular lunar month. It's called Falgun in Sanskrit or Vedas, and it's always on the full moon beginning of that month. But in the Gregorian calendar, it can be off like within a window of 2 to 3 weeks. Like last year, I think Holi was uh, March 8th or 9th, something like that. But yeah, it's within like a window of about 2 weeks, and that's true for whether it's Diwali or anything. They all are within a on a Gregorian calendar, because this follows this solar cycles. Um, but obviously, when you're in the northern hemisphere, all the seasons kind of align,
Mm-hmm.
and anything connected to the seasons, they have to fall around the same time, but not the exact dates.
Got you. Got you. Well, just if anyone has any last questions for Rob, please add them in. Was there anything that else you wanted to add to our discussion of Holi? Here's we're wrapping up. All right. looks like we got our questions. Well, this has been wonderful. Raghav, thank you so much for joining us and talking about your experiences and your knowledge and all the information. Thank you so much. This has been wonderful.
Happy to be here. Thank you so much for giving an opportunity to talk about all this. It was actually very useful and educational for me too, because I had to make sure I knew all, or at least most of it, and kind of had to go back and make sure, you know, read a little bit and make sure all the gaps in my memory and knowledge got filled. So it was kind of interesting for me too, and educational for me too. So thank you so much.
Oh, I'm
Thanks for
so
all the wonderful questions.
Yeah, yes, thank you everyone for the questions. This is oh, got one more. What's going on? Oh, everyone just saying their thank yous. So kind. Well, awesome. Well, thank you
Happy
all.
Holi, everyone.
Happy Holi, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us. And be looking out for more Atlantic Institute discussions in the future. And again, just thank you all so much for joining us. Y'all have a wonderful night.